Right, welcome ladies and gents. You guys may know, and if you didn't, where have you been? I'm really looking forward to The Northman. I am really looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a outstanding film for a few reasons. I mean, Robert Eggers is great as a director. He is very auteur, very unique, and he's been given a sizable budget. He's had to go away from A24 to be able to make this film. Because of that, somewhat more commercially viable and maybe a little bit more streamlined. And I think that there can be a sort of a beautiful marriage there between his sort of auteur eye and, you know, a sort of a streamlining process from a studio. So here we have basically the review roundup, what the critics are saying. And it's funny because you can see a whole bunch of individuals that are like, yeah, absolutely loved it. And then there's one or two with the weirdest criticisms, but we'll get to that. But it's resoundingly positive for the most part. It's very few negatives. So let's dive into it, right? And we'll just do the overviews of this. You know, I do these review roundups to see what everyone's saying and, you know, get your thoughts on this and basically build hype for films which, you know, either I'm interested in or films which you guys are interested in. So, according to The Guardian, which I know, weird place to start, but I mean, they give it 5 out of 5, so, yeah. Robert Eggers has created the Scandi Noir to end all Scandi Noirs. I mean, what a resounding, well, positive. I mean, it's hugely positive, basically. A atavistic revenge horror based on the Old Norse legend of Amleth. A young nobleman intent on bloody payback against the uncle who murdered his father and married his widowed mother. It's the tale that inspired Shakespeare's play Hamlet. So, you know, it's kind of a story as old as time itself, right? One of those things that we just all hear about. So, among his many acts of hysterical violence, and this is a lot of people are really happy with this, but then some of them don't like the violence, which, you know, cry me a river. This film chops off the first syllable of Hamlet's indecision. It hacks away the Elizabethan melancholy and existential hesitation that Shakespeare grafted onto his anguished hero, and turns him into a single-minded warrior who's very buff and roars, with neck tendons flaring like peacock feathers. Good. He is a loincloth-wearing, wolf's head sporting guy who frankly isn't that fussed about being or not being, or only in the sense that the former applies to him and the latter to his enemies. This drama very much takes Amleth away from the thespian green room and simplifies the story along Lion King lines. Good. Yet it also does away with the imbecility that the original Amleth feigned, which Shakespeare then transformed into an ambiguous ordeal of madness. Amleth means stupid, but Amleth is not that. Good. So it sounds really positive. You know, that's kind of like the overview, right? Let's get into some of the other interesting ones. The Northman review, not weird or violent enough, from BBC. Well, I would expect that from the BBC. Alright then, what a weird criticism. But it isn't strange or brutal enough, writes Nicholas Barber. So The Northman, so basically, it's super action-packed, it's unusual, but he wants it to be more. The Northman is but we haven't seen that much in the trailers, so I don't know where you'd get that from, but never mind. The Northman is a film in which a Viking prince proves his worthiness by farting, right, okay, and then levitates while his father's innards morph into a magical fortune-telling tree. It's a film in which Bjork plays a witch with no eyes and a wheat sheaf headdress, and a frenzied Valkyrie rides a white horse across the sky. Noses are bitten off, throats are torn out, and a man staggers into a fire, holding handfuls of his own entrails. It's not your typical Friday night at the cinema, and yet, despite all of the strangeness and brutality mentioned above, The Northman isn't quite strange or brutal enough. I mean, you'd think that would be pretty brutal, but alright. The film was directed and co-written by Robert Eggers. So once again, he's recreated a bygone period with a specificity and sensitivity that suggests he may well be a time traveller. No, he's just doing it as per what it should be and not kowtowing to the mob of diversity. And once again, he's infested that period with all the weirdness and violence of its most disturbing folklore. Good. But in The Northman, he does all that on a bigger scale, with a bigger budget and bigger stars. Ethan Hawke and a fabulously wild Nicole Kidman play a Viking king and queen who are preparing to pass the throne to their bright-eyed son, Amleth. So before they can, the king's resentful brother, Fjolnir, played by Claes Bang, kills the king, carries off the queen, but unfortunately for him, his remarkably incompetent henchman felled King young Amleth, who then grows up to be a glowering hunk, played by Alexander Skarsgård, and vows to get his revenge. So it's interesting. Like, it's interesting that they're like. I don't want to get too much into this because they'll sort of, reveal spoilers, which we don't want to do too much of course. But it is interesting that they say all of that stuff at the start, and then they're like, oh yeah, but it's not enough. You can't just rely on the film being brutal and weird and, out there, right? There has to be some more substance to it. If you want that, you just want, slap bang action, go watch a Marvel film. And then we had this one, right? So the Telegraph actually gave it a 4 out of 5, which is great. Apparently terrifying Nicole Kidman. So a shed load of pillaging and a terrifying Nicole Kidman. Though this be madness, yet there is method, isn't. Alexander Skarsgård's Prince Amleth rampages through a mythical epic of savage beauty. So you've certainly seen a Hamlet. You've never seen a Hamlet quite like this before. To a backdrop of volcanoes spewing their applause, heads roll liberally in the Northman. Several tumbling from big-name actors who've been enticed, understandably, by the film's wild take on Viking mythology. Its unabashed epic scale, it roars and grunts, lunges and spurs. There's a huge leap up in canvas size from Robert Eggers, whose previous films, The Witch, The Lighthouse, were made on a fraction of this $90 million budget. $90 million is a lot. So an Icelandic poet-novelist, co-writer Jean. Eggers has taken the legend of Amleth, the warrior prince whose revenge inspires Shakespeare, and fashioned into a savage, unruly beauty. Which it does look that way, right? That's what we want. Corpses are crushed into mud and dangle like sadistic wall art. In nude moments of respite, hot springs wash off the crusted gore of foes. At no point does a rampant Alexander Skarsgård in the lead role look tempted to break off for any soul-searching soliloquies, that's for sure. Good. That's what we want. Again, I can't go too much into this as well, because again, there'll be too many spoilers. But that's what we want to hear. That's great. And then we had this. A camp laughable fiasco. They gave it 2 out of 5. Apparently this doesn't even really want to move, so great. The ghosts of Monty Python and Zack Snyder's 300 haunt the halls and battlefields of this testosterone-soaked Viking drama from director Robert Eggers. It's a film so assured of its chest-pumping grandeur and so determined to portray its sword-wielding Scandinavian beefcakes, weapons drawn slathered in baby oil with the utmost seriousness that it frequently lapses into unintentional and risible camp. I think that sounds like a lot of projection from this writer, I'm not going to lie. Kevin Mayer. A lot of projection there, boy. Sleep well, Nightblade was the quote that started my giggles. It is protagonist Amleth, played by Alexander Skarsgård, addressing his sword. And it's not meant to be funny. Amleth is a Viking prince who, in the ancient Icelandic version of the Hamlet story, has been betrayed by his uncle. Well, no, again, it's not the. I mean, it's not a version of the Hamlet story. It's what originated the Hamlet story. Idiot. So, I mean, even that alone, like, yeah, a bit of a weird criticism from the Times, but alright. And then you get the likes of, Digital Spy, The Northman Review, the first perfect movie of the year. I mean, resoundingly positive, which is, again, what we want to hear. Absolutely what we want to hear. Just a few headlines here. Northman Review. This is from Joe Blow. They gave it, again, resoundingly positive, quite frankly. So, if the Northman's premise sounds a bit like Hamlet, that's because the old Scandinavian legend of Amleth directly influenced Hamlet. Again, it's pretty important. Robert Eggers' epic new film is an adaptation by him, an Icelandic writer, of the ancient tale. Indeed, it's a classic tale of revenge that lends itself beautifully to what will no doubt be considered the definitive Viking movie. With Eggers brilliantly making a move into big-budget action, who he has actually said he doesn't want to do anymore. I said this is probably a bit for a little while. His artful but accessible film ranks among the best films I've seen in the last few years. It's a stone-cold masterpiece. Yeah, like, it's resoundingly positive, but then you get a few wet wipes going, oh, well, I laughed, because he said goodnight to his blade. Shut up, you absolute wet wipe ball bag. And again, Den of Geek, the definitive Viking movie. So you get a few weird ones, not weird enough, too weird, which seems like an awful lot of projection, quite frankly. But there you have it, ladies and gents. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. I'm super excited for this. It's supposed to be out in 3 days in the UK. I'm searching for somewhere I can watch it because I'm really, really, really excited for this film. But let me know what you think down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thanks so much. Like, share, all that good stuff. Comment. Thanks. Take care.